Roll. Here we go. All right, today is May 11th, 2021. We are at the Lakeside Inn in Mount Dora, Florida. It is about 10 o'clock in the morning. And my name is Ernie Mosteller, and we are interviewing Lucille Romer, who is a longtime resident. And we're going to ask her a few questions about what she remembers of the Mount Dora back in as early as you can remember. So let's start off with, tell us your name, tell us your age, tell us how long you've been in Mount Dora.
Yes, I'm Lucille Francis Romer. I'm 77. Yes, the time's gone by so fast. And I've been in Mount Dora since when I was married to my husband, Gene Romer, in July 15th in 1961.
Wow. Now was your husband from Mount Dora?
No, he was originally from Cincinnati, but his parents had come to Mount Dora, and his parents are the ones that started Romer's Bakery. And when Gene, his dad was supposed to be just retiring, and they came to Mount Dora just looking around, and because they went to Arizona first, the doctor told him to get out of Cincinnati. He was 30 years there as a baker and had a restaurant also. And so they came to Mount Dora, and they were sitting in the park bench in downtown. And he kept looking at that empty building across the street, that brick building. And I came across some papers that his wife said he had that bakery business in his mind. He had it in his mind. He couldn't get away from it. And sure enough, he decided to go ahead and check out the rental, and he started collecting everything, buying everything for the bakery. And so, and I've been trying to do some more backgrounds and pictures and everything for the Mount Dora's Historical Society, so we have a little bit more. And I'm still in the process of that. But I've come across some more pictures and such of all the things that he did, and there's some wedding cake pictures. Because my husband was in the Marine Corps, and that's where he started. He started the last 2 years of high school, and then he went into the Marines and went to California, San Diego, and there was one other one in the Carolinas, of course, he went to. And he ended up in Japan and also Korea, luckily after the war, finish of the war.
Okay. So your husband finished high school in Mount Dora?
No, he finished in Cincinnati.
Okay, and went to the Marine Corps.
In the Marine Corps, and then he also went to the Swiss Embassy. He was the Marine guard there. He met John Foster Dulles. In fact, when he was in for a meeting, his hat was sitting somewhere, and he put it off because it was so big it came down to him. But when he came out, he said he was so hungry, and my husband said he had a sandwich. We always remember that. He had a sandwich. He says, "Would you like a half of my sandwich?" And so they shared a sandwich together. But while he was in Switzerland, he climbed the Matterhorn.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, pretty neat guy. So when he was about finished, his father and mother being here, his father noticed that business was starting to build up, and so he said, my husband was going to stop at the fall of 1958, and so his dad offered to teach him the trade, and he became the fourth generation baker.
Wow.
So he came, and I've come across even some papers of when he was in the Marines, of all the different things that he had done, and they said that he could do anything. They never had to ask him twice. He would do things ahead of time, and he was so organized and very well. All good stuff.
Well, I was going to say, so he moved here to start a bakery.
Well, no, his dad already started.
Or
That's all
his dad
he came to help out.
came to help out, and but were you guys dating? Did you guys know each other yet?
Yes, I was dating him in the Christmas of '58. I was singing in the choir at Eustis, and he had seen me there because we were both Catholic. And so he asked Dolly, I forgot her last name, that lived in Mount Dora, when she came in the bakery, who I was. He says, oh, you'll have to come join the choir to meet her. And so he came before Christmas, and one evening afterwards, and I was practicing Holy Night for the Christmas Mass, and I came outside. My aunt had picked us up, because she was from Umatilla, but picked me up in Eustis, I had a home in Eustis then, and then took me to the choir practice. And when I saw him, I almost melted.
So,
good guy.
So you had ties to the area, maybe not Mount Dora specifically, but you had ties to the area before.
We came in Umatilla in 1955 and stayed with my dad's mother, and lived in a small little house, very small little house. And so lived there for about a year and a half. Went to Umatilla. And then a year and a half later, we had moved to Eustis because Dad had found a house for us to purchase. Kind of were friendlies, and Arby's is now son in that area because there was only a two-lane road back at that time. And when they decided to go ahead and make it 4-lane, we had to get out. And so we had found property just above Kurt Street is, above, and so and on the left-hand side, and we had a house built there. And so
you've got this family bakery going. Tell me what life was like as a newlywed in '61 in Mount Dora.
Well, we moved into a small little house, and on Golden Isle Drive. We were there for 9 years, and that's where we had three little ones. Very quickly. Well, Jim, Tom, and Teresa. And I stayed pretty busy at home because Jean's mom, Helen Romer, was the one that was in the front and helped even with quite a bit because she had showcases to take care of. She had the customers and the register, and she even learned how to decorate cakes for many years. So it was cakes and some of the smaller wedding cakes, otherwise the larger ones. I guess Jean's dad did it, but then Jean had taken over too. And so I stayed pretty busy with 3 little ones, but I did all the bookkeeping and eventually started doing all the washing the Jean's t-shirts and his aprons and everything else like that. So and I took care of all the paperwork and taxes and stuff like that. And deposit, bookkeeping, paying the bills and stuff like that. So that kept me pretty busy.
What was the business community in Mount Dora like during that time? I mean, it was. I mean, we had a lot fewer businesses. They tended to be businesses run by families that had been here for a while. Everybody kind of knew each other. What was there camaraderie? Was there?
I don't know too much of that being there because I remember when I was going to the knitting store that is now the Walk in the Woods or something like that. And so I remember the gal says, where have you been? Where have you been? And out there. And I said, oh, I've been pretty busy. And plus, too, I became involved at the church and was music director and liturgy director of the church. 5 years in Eustis and 15 years here in Mount Dora. So, but it was interesting because I always wondered too. There were 2 hardware stores, Raybaum's Hardware, and also Moon's Hardware. And so, I know there was a taxi. We had a taxi in town. And in fact, I was in Mount Dora this past Saturday with a friend from Claremont had come. And we were walking, and I even pointed out where the old pharmacy used to be. That was there for many, many years, wasn't it? Yeah, stayed there for a long time. And so, yes, I guess there weren't that many stores as compared to now, but I guess it kept, the town busy.
Well, that's actually one of
But
my questions that made it the second page, because I've always been fascinated, and this it is the top of my second page. Okay, so there's, and it may not be on your question list, but it's like I've always found it. We had 3,000 people in this town, and yet there was a hardware store next to a hardware store. There was a jewelry store across the street from a jewelry store. There were one, two, three, like 4 grocery stores that I can
That's
think
right.
of. Right?
One at the corner of yeah.
It's like how I bet you guys were the only bakery.
Yes, yeah, and I think they must have been the very first bakery, because I found pictures too on in information about how Jean's father was waiting for the refrigeration. He ordered the refrigeration freezers and the ovens and different things like that from Cincinnati. I guess he had a connection from there, and there were some problems with the delay, probably with workers, or whether they went on strike or something. That I don't know. But that they wanted to open in April of 1957, but had to wait until May 11th they had opened. And so, in looking back, I found a newspaper clipping. Either Gene had found it or his mom. His mom might have done that. And clipped it, and how the grand opening, his dad baked all night long, all the way up to the opening in the morning. And they were almost completely out. Doilies, it was just empty doilies, nothing on them, except 2 small little flat cakes, layer cakes. And I've got the picture, I brought it with me, but he's over the showcases and his hands go like this, like he couldn't believe it. It was 10 o'clock in the morning, they were almost all sold out, and people still kept coming all day long. And there's one picture from the back of Jean's mom, Helen Romer, where there was a lot of women in front of the cash register, waiting to be waited on, and also to pay for what they were getting. But they were just amazed on how they said, like the newspaper says, I guess Mount Dora Sweets, they wanted a bakery there. They were almost everything. And it was a full line bakery. It was all from breads and cookies and donuts and all different kinds of cookies, trying apple turnovers, the little, they're filled with whipped cream and horns. Yeah, cream horns. And I mean, when I listed all of them, I was just so surprised at all the things they could do. Danish.
Eclairs.
Yes, eclairs. And different donuts. The cake donuts, the raised donuts, and then on special days, the jelly donuts, stuffed jelly donuts, and sometimes lemon filling. So it was, and all the different kinds of breads, because he was doing the white bread, the rye bread, the French bread, and Italian bread, and then somebody asked them for salt bread. He started making that too. And I remember the Thanksgivings or Christmas, the boxes of pies, apple pies or pumpkin pies, were stacked on the back wall, just stacked all up for either orders or for people purchasing them. So it was quite busy, because I know he would sometimes be up to 2:30 in the morning to go to work and start baking. And at Christmas time, there's been a couple Christmases where he just took a cot down there, lay down for about an hour or so, and then went right back to work. Because Jean eventually too started the gingerbread houses, and he was famous for that.
I remember those. I've eaten my share of those pumpkin pies and eclairs, and I think he made every birthday cake I ever got. Yeah, it was. I mean. And
then remember the movie came into town, they would have asked him to make, so many dozens and dozens of, between the donuts and the Danish and everything. The crew would come and nibble and eat and everything too. So that was quite interesting.
Well, let's talk about that. Well, I'm going to make about the movie. I don't have a lot of memories of the movie because I was away in college. So,
Oh, yeah.
that was after my time. But so let's talk about it. Honky Tonk Freeway.
Honky Tonk Freeway, and they painted an elephant all in pink. It was interesting. Had him on for skiing in the lake, or on the lake, going into. And many of their shots were even done at night, because I remember bringing the children downtown to the very center, and how they would water the whole road to look as if it was, had been raining or something. Everything was wet, but how many times they would start a film, take a few shots, and then start again and redo it again, and back and forth. And my daughter was, because the boys had already gone past the part of being in the Mount Dora High School band. Jim played trumpet, Tom the clarinet, and Jenny Teresa played the flute. And so she was in the band when they had a parade coming through for the movie too. And they were supposed to give them a certain amount of money to help the band. Something happened that they never did. But the movie didn't come out quite as good as everybody was expecting. I never got to see it really. I was wanting to, but I just.
You've never seen it? We have a theory that what really drove Mount Dora in this era was a combination of church, school, and civic clubs. That those were everybody in town had serious activity in one or more of those things. I don't know if you agree with that theory, or if you.
Probably so. I think there was a lot of people involved. Because I remember hearing in high school, even with Eustace there, he just by the same thing. So many people were involved.
Speak up.
Many people were involved with either having a business or else just coming down to Mount Dora and using the stores in Mount Dora.
And the church activities and obviously you were heavily involved in the church activities.
Yes, quite a bit. Yes, quite a few years. Teresa was just a little girl when I had started. The gal I started in Eustace, the gal that directed the choir was retiring. She was leaving. Nobody else, and that's all experience I had was Glee Club in high school. And so I went ahead and took it over and had an organist there. But it taught me I started absorbing like a sponge, everything about music and the timing and everything else. Since, I knew it was Glee Club, but not as a professionalist. And so it took a little while, but we had a good choir, and my brother became a priest, and I was in charge of the music for his ordination and also for his first mass at Eustace. And so I felt pretty good when some lady came up and says, "What music college did you graduate from?" So a lot of experience, and it was fun, and we had a good group. And in fact, many of them moved over to St. Patrick's, and I had even people coming from Eustace to come and be with the choir, especially when we had the bishop come for the grand opening for the church. And so it was busy, because I was busy with 3 children at that time. It was before Jenny came along, and but it was very worthwhile and very good. Yeah. Church is always, we were involved with so many other things, even with the children's classes and stuff we had also for them. So and there was a few of us mothers that got together and made a sketch. And all kinds of funny things. So it was fun.
And that leads me to my next question: is leisure activities. What do people do for fun?
Well, ourselves. Because with Gene working, all day long, and he loved the outdoors. And so during the week, as the children were growing up before they started school, he would just say, "You want to go to the woods?" We would go to the springs, all the springs at Alexander Springs and Rock Springs, all the different places. just to get out for a little while and walk in the woods, or just, and we did camping. So, well, there was a skating ring in Eustis too, so skating ring in Eustis, and I'm sure that we're in between the high schools. There was so much competition between Mount Dora and Eustis. They were quite rivals, and so it was a little hard for me once, since I graduated from Eustis. It's hard kind of to sit on the Mount Dora side when we were playing with Eustis, but eventually,
That was a huge rivalry for years and years and years, and it still is, but it's not not to the level
like it was before. Because when Eustis was playoffs for the state and everything, in Mount Dora, I was coming back from a restroom or something, and coming back to go and sit in the bleachers or whatever it was called. And I heard a lot of people from Mount Dora wishing that the other team would win, not Eustis. Oh! So there was much of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What about did you ever go to the Princess Theater for a movie?
Oh yes, quite a few movies. Yes, yeah. It was kind of neat. It was sad in a way when they had to close down, and then new shops, little small shops, went in. But it was, it was nice to have a movie theater in town. Because otherwise, from there we had to go to, I guess even Eustis. But back in when I was still. Because when I came to Florida, I was 12 years old. And when Umatilla, so it was 13, 14, and where we lived was behind us in Eustis was the drive-in theater. I remember going with the family and saying, King and Dad and I were the only ones that stayed awake. The rest of them were sleeping. And so my brother and I, we thought, we'll go and try to sneak in and look and see a movie. We got there, and we were on our stomachs and everything. We stayed only 10, 15 minutes because mosquitoes were so bad. so that cut that out. And anyways, we didn't pay for it, so.
Is that there's something different about Mount Dora. And it's like, they got the slogan now, someplace special, but there's from my perception as somebody who grew up here, it has always been sort of different from Tavares and Eustis and Umatilla and the cities, Apopka, Zellwood. It's had a different personality.
I think you were more closer to people that, just years and years ago, you can walk down the street and see all the people you know. Now you can't because there's so many new that come in. But it was a good town to be in because it just felt like, almost like everybody's family in a way too. The neighbors, nice neighbors. Even to this day, we were at a small house for 9 years, and then we built on Normandy Drive, and we've been there since 1970. And in fact, the neighbors, the Wolves, they were there before we were. And Nancy was there were 3 daughters. The middle daughter was living there, and then she went ahead and gave it up to get into a smaller home, but she regrets it. She says, I regret the neighbors, everybody was so different. And so, and I have a friend, because I've also been homeopathy, I'm co-chair for the Mount Dora, Lake County group that meets at the library usually until this pandemic, but we still do Zoom. And so, being involved with that, there's the gal who is my co-chair is from Claremont, and she came. I was telling you, we walked Mount Dora. She says, "Oh, I wish I was living in Mount Dora." She just loved it. She loves coming and walking through the town and through the stores and everything. So. Someone from outside coming in and really wish that she would live here.
It still has that. It still has a different kind of charm.
Right.
When and how did Mount Dora become the antique capital?
I don't know. I don't know, but I know all of a sudden there's one antique antique business, and then there's another one, and then another one, and another one. Do you think probably because when we had the craft show and the art festivals, people would come and they would come back again. Because I was surprised, because I was doing also stained glass in the 1990s. I started stained glass, and I had been in the an outdoor craft show for several years. And I didn't even realize that I didn't have one of the booths, but my husband made two nice big tables and displays and everything that I had, from little tiny small angels to bigger windows. I did 5 columns of windows for the church in Lady Lake, and so they would, they were coming from all over, and they will come back because all of a sudden, out of the blue, a lady that I didn't even remember had liked my work, and she called me up and she said she wanted 2 side panels done in stained glass, and she wanted me to do it. And I was so surprised that I never really met and talked with her during that weekend, and yet they came back again. So I'm sure that's brought them back into town. And once it probably started the antiques, probably a lot of antique collectors came and more happened. So I have a feeling that has a lot to do with it. It also was pretty neat. They always had the Christmas parade every year, every single year, Christmas parade. And then they started when they were going to light up a big, huge tree. And maybe the churches or choir groups would be singing, and then waiting until complete darkness when they put the light on. And then it also evolved to where, I guess because of Disney with all their lights, how they start lighting up Donnelly House, the community building, the city hall, and then eventually through all the businesses start doing it eventually. But it was so quaint, because I remember we wanted to come through town all the time, especially if I go choir practice out of St. Patrick's, coming in through town there during the Christmas time it was so joy, so much joy to stop and walk through it. It was and I know more and more musicians were starting as time went on. Different places of the business had musicians.
Yes, tell me about Hurricane Donna.
Yes.
I was too young.
I was just dating Gene, and he had coming to the family home and everything, and then we knew that the hurricane was coming, and his parents and him were living in just a trailer park going toward off of 441 Sunny Pines, and so we told him, why don't you and your parents come and be with us in the house? Oh no, everything will be fine, everything will be fine. Well, it didn't turn out so fine. They were just very lucky. They didn't know until the following morning. They got up. There's trees all over the place were down. Most of the people had gone to the clubhouse, but Gene and his parents hadn't. But they were just very fortunate that it came down on the side of the trailer, one side, came down on the other side. Luckily, their cars were not damaged either. But the majority of the trees were down. All the huge, tall pine trees that were down there. It was quite a devastating hurricane, and they were very, very lucky.
It was, my parents told me the eye went right over our house, and the rest. I was a baby. I don't remember. Let's talk about Romer's Bakery is an icon, okay? And there were some other icons, just iconic businesses in town, places like the Dixie Drive-In, Charlie's, which eventually turned into the Peppermint Stick next door to the bakery.
That's right, yes. And Turner's Bakery, because I was looking up something and I came across, it was on my phone, and it was 1962, and they were talking about the Turner's Bakery, Romer's Bakery, and of course the Ray Bums and Moons, and also, there was another one. Oh, and about Turner's Restaurant. And that was one of the 3. That was the bakery, and I guess Turner's Restaurant, and also Peppermints.
Turner's Restaurant. Sam Swiger ran that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And he was always Santa Claus in the Christmas parade too. I remember that.
Yeah.
I'll sort of wrap up, unless you have extra questions, I'll sort of wrap this up with, A, do you have anything that you really want to tell us about Mount Dora?
I mean, I've loved it all the time that we've been here. It's just a nice, friendly, and a lovely place. Because I have one of our gals that comes from our meetings all the way from St. Augustine, Liggett. She comes all the way for our meetings, you see, and sometimes she's been even, when we do Zoom, she comes and stays with a friend. And she said, what a lovely, lovely town. She was so impressed.
I'm going to ask you one more, and that's, do you have a favorite memory from the 60s or 70s?
I guess my favorite memory is because it's my husband, and what a good father he was, and he would try to do it. I mean, he's after we had sold the bakery because we thought we were going to go to Seattle, Washington, because our family moved there. He had started working at Mission Inn, and he learned so many other things to do. So he was at home. He could almost do anything: the bathroom, the toilets, and everything. So it taught me how to do a lot of that too. But he was such a good husband, good father, and that made it even. That was like the frosting of the cake for me, because it's just very, very special.